Kanban is a Japanese word that means flag or signal. It is basically a visual aid to convey the message that action is required. The Kanban inventory was originally used in an American supermarket for replenishing empty shelves in racks. Whenever a shelf was found drained of a product, it triggered the replenishment of the product to the shelf. It was so simple because an empty shelf was easily visible among the other shelves full of products. So what happened next was the owner of Toyota Motor Company, Ono, thought of implementing the same idea for the replenishment at his assembly lines. He adopted this simple but effective method by using a trigger or Kanban to alert the manufacturing area that the assembly area was running low on components. Every component must have its own Kanban to signal when it needs to be replenished. The Kanban system has 4 basic stages. Let's understand them one by one. In stage 1, when a worker needs components, he goes to the rack placed opposite his workstation. These racks contains bins of components required for by a workstation, which from the work in process or in work in progress is necessary. Every bin has the requisition Kanban card affixed on it, which is removable, and this card contains the component name, its identification number, and the rack number and shelf on the rack in the store where more bins of the components are stored. The worker from the assembly line removes the Kanban card from the bin, hangs it on a hook on the rack, and takes away the bin to their workstation for using the component in the assembly operation. And hence these hanging Kanban cards are thus clearly visible from everywhere, signaling that replenishment of components is required in the store. The same like in American supermarkets, where empty shelves attracts attention to get replenishment. And in the stage 2, a supply worker, which is termed as Mijosho Mashi, which is a Japanese word, keeps on moving in the aisle or the passageway across the rack with his trolley. When he reaches the rack opposite the assembly line, he removes all the hanging requisition Kanban cards and the empty bins from the rack. He then takes this along with him through the aisle to the racks in the store opposite the manufacturing cells. In the stage 3, the Mijosho Mashi looks at the information on each requisition Kanban cards and locates the position of the rack and the shelf on the rack containing the bin full of a particular component. Every bin in the store has the production Kanban card affixed on it, which is again removable. The production Kanban card contains the name and identification number of the components to be manufactured in the cell. The Mijosho Mashi takes off the bins from the racks corresponding to the requisition Kanban card he had brought with him and removes the production Kanban card from these. He hangs this on the hooks on the corresponding racks in the store and attaches the requisition Kanban card on the bins and puts the bin in the trolley to the racks opposite the assembly line and places the bins in the appropriate racks. And hence the replenishment of the bins at the assembly line has been taken place. And then the Mijosho Mashi repeats this process at regular interval of time, and hence the replenishment of the components keeps on going. And in the stage 4 of Kanban card implementation, one worker from each of the manufacturing cell goes to the rack placed opposite his cell with his trolley. He removes the hanging production Kanban cards and places the empty bins from the rack in his trolley. He then takes this to his manufacturing cell, where the different component that is mentioned on the production Kanban card are manufactured in exact quantities so as to fill the empty bins completely. The filled up bins with the production Kanban cards attached to them are then taken from the manufacturing cell to the rack opposite the cell and placed on the appropriate shelf mentioned in the production Kanban card. So these four stages completes the signaling, it completes the Kanban card implementation, and eventually it increases the inventory capacity and it continuously replenishes the product. I would highly recommend each and every student that in order to understand the implementation of Kanban card, please go through this lecture over and over again. Then only you will be able to grasp the concept. But in the nutshell, it's basically dependent upon the example that I have told. The earlier most implementation of Kanban card that I have told was the American supermarkets, where the empty shelf, the empty cell, or that empty position attracts the attention. If you find something missing, you will try to replenish it. It's in our human instinct.